Hello, welcome to Magic. My name is Richard, and today we'll be going over how you can set up an application using Magic's SDK and leverage Firebase Authentication so you can give your users more of that Web 2 password and email flow feel that they're so used to. This guide, published May 9, 2024, is actually pretty lengthy. It's going to require that you not only have a Magic account and have a Magic app, but that you also have a Firebase account and a Firebase app. And what we're going to do is use our quick start demo that you can get from our dashboard, and we'll kind of mesh these two together so that you can create this experience. We will be going over this, so it will be kind of a longer video. We'll be going over this guide chronologically, top to bottom. Again, using our quick start repo as kind of like a starting point, and we'll just kind of tweak it, refactor it. As you may have noticed as I'm scrolling down, we will be going over some code. So I do expect that you to understand JavaScript, especially React.js, or in this case, Next.js, but yeah, same thing. So follow along. All right, so the link to this will be in the description below. And let's start from the dashboard. We're going to create a new app right now. Let's just do Magic Firebase demo. You can name it whatever you want. And of course, this is like the dashboard, magic.link. You can create an account or log in. I'm creating a new application here. And with that, it's going to take you to this section right here where there's a quick start section. We'll do the email, OTP. Actually, this isn't really going to matter. So I'll just include it in there so we know what to refactor. And let's copy this. Let's go on over. We'll do that. And the project name, we'll name it the same, Magic Firebase Demo. We'll let that run. So see it's starting right here, so let's open it up. This is actually using Magic's email OTP login. What that means is you're actually leveraging Magic's identity provider to handle this. And so I'll just log in to show you. This is the passwordless login a la Magic. I'm gonna get my 6-digit OTP from my email inbox, paste it in there. I'm logged in. So there you go. However, we want to create a Web 2 experience login with password. And so this is the repo that we just opened up here, okay? We'll go over a few sections. Obviously, the environment variables. This is the API key for this app. We are on Ethereum Sepolia. I'll go over what these are in a bit. Where is Magic being created? In source, components, Magic provider. This is where Magic is being created. Magic is instantiated. We're passing in the API key, plugging in Ethereum, Sepolia, a network URL, and chain ID. We'll go over extensions in a bit, and then we're holding Magic to state, passing it around our application. Okay. Where's the auth section? I showed you the login with the email OTP. That's handled here. So when I plug in my email and I click on that submit button, it's calling Magic instance, auth module, login with email OTP. Once I submit or paste the 6-digit OTP, it resolves to a DID token. Okay, so let's go back to the guide and take a look at what's needed. All right, so I got the API key just as a function of creating a Magic application. Secret key, Firebase project. I am logged in to Firebase. Here we go. And a web client. You're looking at it. Okay, so thank you for telling us that. Thank you. And we did this. Okay, we went into the dashboard. We copied this. We went to the terminal, created a project, and install project dependencies. Okay, so a few things. We're going to need Firebase, obviously, and this is an extension, Magic EXT extension OIDC. So I'm just going to copy this, and if you're using Yarn, here you go. I'm doing npm. So let's install this. All right. Firebase and OIDC. Okay. All right, so we got it. I don't know what that was about. All right, so create and configure Firebase project. Head to the Firebase console, create a new project. Once you have named and created a new project, you will need to add Firebase to your web app. Click on web, add a nickname to your application, and click register app. Okay, let's do that. Here we are. Add project. We'll name it Magic Firebase Demo. Continue. All right, continue. So we got this, and click on web, add a nickname, register app. I think I did that. Oh no, here we go. Click on web, register app. We'll just do the same thing here. Magic Firebase Demo. Nope, don't need that. All right, so here we go. Add Firebase to your app and import the function you need from the SDKs and SDK, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And here are I'm gonna be deleting this app pretty soon after this video. So yeah, here it is for you all to see. I don't think any of this is really going to be secret stuff though, but the magic secret key will be, it won't be operational. Okay, so it says here in the next step, a configuration file for Firebase will be displayed. As you've just seen, we will need to add this to our app as we'll be using this for our login logout flow. We won't be using this exact code block that Firebase has provided. Instead, we'll be taking the Firebase config and adding it to our .env file. Okay, that works here. Replace the empty values below, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so let's take this, all right? Let's go here, back to our env, and just under here. All right, so I am going to copy and paste some of these things here. API key, moving that over. All right, auth domain. Project ID, Magic Firebase Demo.appspot.com. Is that the storage bucket? Yeah. Sender ID and the app ID. Okay. So if you're following along, it should look like this now. Okay, so this is where these two just came with the quickstart demo. This is what I just added. I'm going to save, and let's go back here. Next, create a directory inside source components named Firebase. We can now create the Firebase config file. Create a config.ts file and paste the following code block. Well, that's easy. Okay, so what we're gonna do is go to source components and create a directory inside named Firebase. Okay. Oh, I wish I had a larger screen for you guys. I'll just do it on this and I'll show you guys. Source components, adding a new directory called Firebase. So, like so, in components. Okay, it's empty. And then in here, I believe it was config.ts. Config.ts. And copy paste. All right, so copy and paste. Okay, so I have Firebase installed. All of these are being pulled from the .env. And what we're doing is get apps. If it exists, we're initializing it with the configs, and we're exporting Firebase app. We're exporting Firebase auth out. So this is where we're creating Firebase and exporting it out. You can choose to do this in some separate provider if you want to do it that way. We're just going to follow along with the guide here today. Okay, that's it for the Firebase configuration. Well, that's nice. Okay, configure magic with OIDC. We are not going to be going over what OIDC is specifically, but it is, to summarize, an identity layer built on top of the OAuth 2.0 protocol. So what that means is, today we're doing this with Firebase. You can do this with any other identity provider that conforms to the OpenID Connect standard. Top of mind, some others are Auth0, Amazon, Cognito, and I'm sure there are more that I just don't know off the top of my head right now, but you can do that. Okay, so the configuration needs to still be done, because just because you have a Firebase app doesn't mean Magic is now going to just magically acknowledge your identity provider. There is some configuration that needs to happen, and we've actually provided an endpoint to do that, which is where you'll need the secret key from Magic. And again, we'll get to there. But for now, let's continue. Okay, so OIDC. Magic works with any identity provider who conforms to that. And so if you want to use your auth provider and do the auth yourself, and then only leverage Magic for the wallet provision, well, there's some things you have to do. And the reason why earlier we installed this package is this is an extension that we will be adding. We'll first pull it in, and then we will be adding it. Remember this line right here? I said this is where Magic is created. We're pulling in the API key. You're going to add this extension. And earlier we had a different extension. You can add several or multiple extensions all in the same Magic instance. And so don't be confused like, oh, I guess there's only one extension allowed. No, you can add several. But we're just going to replace it because we don't need the other extension. And once that extension is included in this Magic instance, your Magic instance can now work with other identity providers. Also keep in mind that the login method that we used earlier, login with email OTP, that is our auth provider. So you will not be using that method. You will be using another method, which I'll get to in a bit because that was quite a mouthful. So let's just do that part right now. So going back to the repo here. And this is the other extension that I was telling you guys about. This is the OAuth extension, as in you can let your users log in with Google or Apple or Twitter or, X, or whatever other OAuth social providers there are out there. But we're not going to use this. So we're going to do import, the OAuth extension, thank you. And no, this is going to be like that. There we go. Don't over rely on these autofills, man. All right, so I'm gonna take this, head down, and auth. Oh, I guess it did it for me too. All right, well that's nice. Thank you. Okay, so now this magic instance is ready to use the open OIDC. No, I didn't do it. I'm sorry, you guys. Open OIDC. What was it? Let me just go get it. Look at it. Open ID extension. Open ID extension. Open ID extension. There we go. Thought something was off. Okay, you guys still with me here? We replaced the other one with the Open ID extension, the other one being the OAuth extension. Proper package. All right, this is good. And now this is going to be, there we go. Okay. So now on the magic instance side, we are constructing the proper magic instance to work with your new identity provider. Okay, so let's keep going down this guide here. Okay, now get provider ID from Magic. Now, what is a provider ID? That is something that Magic provides you. Okay, it is something that we give you. Kind of like the API key and the secret key, like these two things here. However, the provider ID doesn't come from the dashboard. It comes from an endpoint, a public endpoint that we provide to you. As long as you are part of the growth plan, because from the growth plan, that's when you can use your own identity provider. And I will include a link to the endpoint so that you know where to find it. But what you're going to do is send a post request with some of this information, and this information you will get from Firebase, but I'll show you where to get it. Okay, so let's go to Magic Docs Authentication. Bring your own IDP. If you didn't know, IDP means identity provider, and it's here where we go over how you can use our OIDC extension. Let's see. Yep, it works for all of our SDKs, web, native, mobile, React Native, Flutter. And this is some of the information that you will need. And you'll need a secret key. By the way, here is the endpoint. Okay, so here's the endpoint. What we'll do is we'll make a post call and we'll put in some of this information and it will return to us a provider ID. So let's just go through that right now. Okay, so let's open up Postman. All right. So here is okay. Post. No, discard. I don't want any of that. I don't want any of this. Okay. Magic API. All right. So let's copy this. I did that. And then content type and the secret key. Okay. So headers. This is probably not it. Get the secret key. This is when you'll see it. Okay. Copy. Hide that again. That's when you'll need it. You want to get that provider ID from us? Well, you got to send the secret key for your app. Okay, so I got that. in the body, for something different, let's see here. It says I'm going to need issuer audience display name sandbox. So issuer audience display name. So issuer something audience something audience display name and sandbox. Display name something and sandbox. I believe that was just like that. Okay, so the payload or attaining these values vary across different providers. Okay, so for Auth 0 or Amazon, like I said earlier, you'll get them differently. If you need help, refer not only to those docs, but reach out to us. We'll help you find it. Let's see. We will only need to get the audience, which in this case is available as next Firebase project ID and the display name, which can be found in the project settings in the Firebase console. All right, so for issuer, the issuer will be the following URL with the project audience appended to it. This is for Firebase, okay? So it's this plus the audience, and the audience is going to be, which is the Firebase project ID. Okay, so for issuer, it's going to be this, and then the project ID. The project ID is, back to the .env, project ID is the name that I gave it. Okay, the project ID. All right, so I'm gonna put this in here. Okay, now the audience. What is the audience? The audience is going to be, we're at the audience. Isn't that odd? We need to get the audience. The audience, obtain these references. We need to get the audience, which is the product and the display name. Okay, so it's the same thing, you guys. How embarrassing. Sorry about that. Magic Firebase demo. Well, that's easy. Display name. I will give it the same name as what I named it here. Firebase, I named it Magic Firebase demo. How'd you know that? Oh, okay, because I had it above. All right. Sandbox, this is something that we allow you to pass in as true. If you don't pass it in, it's optional. I believe it'll just be false. Sandbox mode essentially is like, hey, is this a test application? Pass in true. And for sandbox mode, I'll have to find out and maybe even like add a comment or add in the description what exactly it does, but I believe it makes it so that you can pass in any ID token even if it's expired, and the login would still succeed. So you can test with your application, which is, hence the name sandbox mode is true. For our case, we'll do false because we're actually going to do a real login. So we'll just do sandbox false. And in fact, I may even just remove it just to show you that it's going to do that. And we'll check it out again. And because we can't just get, I'm going to just name this test and then remove it later. Okay, so once we have all of that in, check the returned ID for the attribute, save it in your, okay, so let's send this. There we go. And it says here in the guide that the ID is going to be the provider ID, the thing that Magic provides you, because you're now configured on our side to use your identity provider. So sandbox mode is false. See, check that out. Okay, so you don't need to pass it in there, but you can if you want to. So the ID will copy this, and we will store it in our app as next public provider ID. Next public provider ID. Let's do next public provider ID. And we need to put some quotes around this. Let's name this magic provider ID. OIDC provider ID. Okay. Lovely. All right. So I told you I was going to update the config, and I might as well do it now. We have a patch call if you need to make any changes to it. So you take this, you replace the provider ID for the actual provider ID. You pass in whatever you pass in. Whatever you don't pass in stays the same. What you pass in changes. And so let's just do that right now. Pass that in. This is a patch. And the provider ID is right here. Copy that. Paste that in. And I don't want to change anything else except for the display name. So we'll change that. We'll send. And the name has been updated. Okay, this stays the same. Everything else should stay the same. Okay. That's going to be it for the Postman. And for this as well. Okay, and we went over this, and let's go back to the guide. Okay. We'll fix this soon too. All right, so let's add the login with OIDC to the app. Login with OIDC is the actual login method. Okay, and we'll add it to the client. Navigate to source components, magic auth, Google. Okay, let's take a look. Sorry, you guys, I don't have a wide screen here, so let me just check on this side. Source, components, magic, auth, and we don't have a google.tsx. So let me just show you guys here. Okay, so source components, magic, auth, there's only one. Right, and this is what I showed you earlier, that login method, login with email OTP, showed you earlier in the video. It's seeming like that they want us to create a google.tsx. So let's do that. And in it, we'll import a few things from Firebase, like the config we created earlier, and it's asking us to copy, paste. Make sure the directory lines up with your app. If you're using the quickstart demo like we are here today, it's probably the same, but just calling that out. Okay, copy and paste that in here. I don't like seeing too many of these squigglies. Let me just clean that up. And trust but verify. Let me do this myself real quick, you guys. Import. Okay. Yeah. Computers are smarter than me, so sure. Yeah. Firebase config. Okay. Yeah. All right. Next up, replace the login function to include sign in with pop-up provided by this Firebase SDK. So it seems like in this guide, we're going to be implementing Firebase's sign up with pop-up method, which is, it's going to pop up something and ask the user to log in with email password. And so that's what we're going to use here. So we then call the get ID token, and this, after a user logs in with whatever method you choose to use, in this case, sign in with pop-up, the authentication flow completes, the user is authenticated. And then after that, you can call get ID token, which is something that Firebase provides to you. This method on their SDK, or return an ID token. And the ID token is kind of like proof that the user has authenticated through Firebase. Okay, so let's see, where is this? Is this still the same? Login, set loading true, cons provider. Okay, so it looks like it's asking us to go back to the actual login function, as in email TP. This file, give me a sec while I figure out where this goes. Next, replace the login function to include sign in with pop-up method provided to us by using Firebase SDK. We then call the get ID token method on this return. Okay, we tie it all together. Okay, well, this. So it's keeping this alive and this separate, which is what it looks like here. Okay, let's give it a try. All right, so const login, I'll just copy all this. Okay, so copy all that. Okay, and maybe it's not, and it goes all here. Hold up, what methods? Set loading flag. Set loading flag. This set loading flag. Well, that's a little confusing. We might just have to freestyle it from here. Let's take a look at the code. So this is a login function. It's setting some setter as true. So it's going to load. Then we're pulling in Google Auth provider from provider, which is coming from Google Auth provider. Then it's calling the actual sign in with pop-up method. We're passing in the Firebase auth that we've created in our Firebase config file, passing in the provider as well. And then if it resolves, it's going to return the ID token. And with this access token, ID token, we are passing it into the login method that we provide. Okay, magic, OpenID module, login with OIDC. And in it, we're passing in the access token from the auth user and the provider ID that we've passed, or you've created through our endpoint. And so what we're gonna do is, let's actually just, I don't want to go too off the rails here with you guys, but can we maybe just reconfigure this? Let's reconfigure email OTP. Okay, let's give this a try here. I know we're freestyling just a little bit here. No, I don't want that. But let's try this. Okay, let's get rid of this. All right. So we're going to I don't want to rename this yet, because the login's probably just a button that pops up the sign in with pop-up. So oh yeah, let's go back to the app, see what this looks like. Okay, so we're going to see why this is not working first. Whoa, what happened here? Okay. Let's see if this will work. No. Oh, whoops. CD Magic Firebase demo. Open npm run dev. Okay. Don't know why that happened, but I believe it should be good to go now. Okay. So this is the email OTP login. So what we're going to want to do is maybe get rid of the input and have this login sign up button still exist. We'll name this login with Firebase. Okay. So email OTP. Is it being used anywhere else? Email OTP. Login. Okay. And what is this doing? Login, email. Okay, it's displaying it. Okay. Cool. All right. So we'll close that and we'll pull this off to the side and let's do this. So I'm going to rename this OIDC login, and we'll update. Okay, so we'll name this OIDC login. Okay, and nothing should have changed. Okay, so let's keep going. Down here, we're going to keep the button, and we're going to name this OIDC login. Okay, so OIDC login, we'll get rid of the input, form input. I don't think we need this or this anymore. Okay, and the button, on click, handle login. And this is what we're dealing with here. Gosh, these squigglies, what is going on? Okay, so it is in here that we will implement the login with OIDC. So I'm going to pull this off to the side temporarily as I'm looking at the guide, the page that we were looking at. Okay, just so you're following along, I'm going to be right around here. Maybe just be copy pasting some of this in, and potentially even just copy pasting this in. Okay, so I'm just going to copy this. Let's see what's up here. I won't mess with any of that yet. Okay, so getting this in now. I won't need email and set email. Okay, I won't need this either because there's no email that the user is inputting on our code. The sign in with pop-up is Firebase's pop-up. And Google Auth, I'm not sure if it's going to be email password or like Google OAuth, like Google Social login, but we'll see. Okay, and I pasted in these two, and this should be coming from Firebase config right here. Okay, and this Firebase auth is coming from Firebase the package. Okay, and I'm scrolling down in the guide section just to show you where I'm moving to. We copied this. We're moving down here, and I may just copy all of this as well. But again, I want you to understand it first. This is the handle login method that we're messing with right now, and we're going to do all this stuff in here. So maybe not everything, maybe just everything inside the function. I will continue to name it handle function or handle login. Let's just get rid of this. Just get rid of it. Get rid of this as well. Okay. And paste it all in. Now there is no set loading flag, so what we're going to do is add that setter, set loading flag. Wow, amazing, man. Okay, we're going to push this out and set loading flag is set to false initially. When we click the button, it sets to true. The provider is being created with the Google Auth provider that we've pulled in. And then we're going to try signing with pop-up, passing in the Firebase auth that we created in the config file and the provider that we just created. And if no result, then it failed. But if there is a result, we will get the ID token from it. And I'm going to show you guys what this ID token is. Yeah, sure, I'll need an access token. And then we will then do the login. Here we're passing in the access token to this. And then the provider ID comes from the .env earlier. And you got this via the endpoint that we provided you. Okay, this right here, you're passing this in. This is why you need it, because you need this to actually log in with your identity provider. And then we're going to get the metadata from the user, which we provide. This is Magic's SDK now. And I'm going to I'll show this to you as well. Okay. Then we'll set the token. Yep, we'll set it. Where is the set? There we go. And the save user info, where's that coming from? Save user info. Okay. And then we're doing that, but we'll just do it the way I want to do it. Okay. So there's not gonna be this button really should not be disabled unless it's clicked and the sign up pops up. But the pop-up should take over and overlap. So I'm gonna get rid of this disabled for now. Okay, so now that we have it set up like this, let's go back to our app. Okay, before I start messing around, let's just see what else. Okay, so now it goes straight to the logout section. So let's stay here for now. And I'm going to refresh. Pop open the console. And let's click. Okay, so it says here, error signing in with Google. Cannot read properties of undefined OIDC login, line 55. Just enable all this. Add new provider. We're going to add Google. Enable. I guess that's it. Support email for project. That's going to be me. Save. Okay, so I've enabled Google and email password. This because maybe I want to do that later. And back to the app here, let's just refresh that. And login, sign up. There we go. So it is not email and password like I said earlier. So sorry about that. So sorry about that. It is actually Google OAuth. which you can actually also do using our OAuth extension that I deleted from the app. So you can do it this way, or you can do it that way. However, the OIDC method is a lot more flexible, right? Our OAuth method is like OAuth only, it's just OAuth. OIDC lets you, sign in with pop-up instead of the redirect, and it also lets you do email, password, or like any other login method with another identity provider. So I'm just going to log in here, and before I click on this, I want to move to the console and show you guys earlier that I will be printing what the ID token is. Okay, so making clear that that's what I am going to do. Okay, and let me move you here so you can see that, and I will make this. Okay, I'll do that. I'll log in, sign into this app that I've created on Firebase, continue, and it's going to log me in, and then the access token. So what is this access token here? There you go, see? This is also the printing of the metadata by Magic. There is no email returned because this is an OIDC user. If a user logged in with email OTP, Magic's identity provider, we know the email. If the user is logging in with your identity provider, the email is no longer the primary auth method, if that makes sense. Like, the user is not putting an email and submitting it to Magic. The user is now submitting the email address or whatever auth method that they use to you and your identity provider. This ID token is passed to Magic. Okay, this is what we have now. And in here, let me just show you. So this token is me. This is when I auth in. The sub ID, this unique ID that is returned by Google is now the unique identifier that we use to make a one-to-one mapping between this user and their provisioned wallet. And this was issued at this time. It's going to expire in 1 hour. And in Firebase, I might even suggest you reduce the or decrease the expiry time. Make it shorter if you can, because it's just being used once quickly to authenticate the user for the wallet. So essentially what's happening is the user is authenticating twice, just they don't know it. They're authenticating once through your identity provider, and then with this ID token and the provider ID, they are authenticating with Magic, but they're not really authenticating in a sense. We're trusting you and your auth provider to do the auth, and we are then just taking this ID token at face value and assuming you've done your auth. So the authentication responsibility and obligation rests on your application, on you and your identity provider. Magic simply provisions a wallet with this. So that is the email address. Sometimes it's not returned, however. And in this app, I am now logged in and I have a wallet. And let's go back to the code real quick just to kind of show you guys what happened. Pop-up happened. I'll get rid of this now. Got the ID token from the user, the result user ID token. I'll get rid of this now. Then the login actually took place, lines 40 to 45. This is the actual wallet provisioning login. Login with OIDC. The access token is passed in along with the provider ID. Metadata is collected, printed. I just showed you guys that too. Then set token, did token. And somewhere in the code, it must be that if token, then move the user to the next page. Magic dashboard redirect. Anyways, the user is logged in. Okay, I'm not going to get into the details of the quickstart demo. The user is logged in. So what I'm going to do now is, okay, Logging the user out. Like I said earlier, I alluded to the fact that you're logging in twice technically. You logged in once with your identity provider, Firebase, then you logged in again with Magic. And so there's really two auth sessions, one for the Web2 auth and then one for the actual wallet, right? And the wallet auth is pretty important because that's what controls your user's ability to access their private key. And so when you invalidate one, like the user logs out from Firebase, you're going to want to also invalidate the session for the wallet portion as well. And so it's very important for security. When the user logs out, clear both. This prevents unauthorized access. Okay, so the CLI gives us a way to log the user out. Firebase offers it through this method here, called the sign out method provided by Firebase SDK. And we'll do it also with Magic. So, first things first, we will go to the, let's see here. It says here to add Firebase's sign out to, let's go to this file right here. And give me a second, you guys. There we go. Source, components, Magic, cards, user info card, and that is right here. Okay. And in here it says, okay, so we are calling Magic, or we are calling logout. Okay, so let's bring in these two. Bring in these two, just so you know what I'm talking about. These two under the logout section. We'll copy that, and we'll plug this in up here. Okay, and then if you're following along, it says next, inside the disconnect functions. Inside the disconnect functions right here, above the existing logout function for Magic, add the Firebase signout function and pass in the Firebase auth. So it looks like this. So this would be this right here. Add this in right above the await logout from Magic. Okay. So like that. Okay. Sign out and Firebase out. We're pulling this in from Firebase config. Okay, and the sign out is a method on Firebase. Okay, so that ensures that when a Magic user logs out, they are also logged out of Firebase and the session is cleared. Okay, so let's try this out now. I'm going to save. I'm going to go back to the actual application. And I'm going to disconnect. I'm signed out. Okay, this is great. Log in. All right, I still have that 1 ETH. Okay. Back to the guide. I tested it out. All right. So that's really it for integrating Firebase Google SSO, I guess, to the app. Earlier I showed you that, don't forget about this. Earlier I showed you that you can go into Firebase and enable other login methods. I did email password, you can do phone, you can do passwordless, you can add other providers. Really, you can do whatever you want. And all the links that I've used to Firebase's documentation, our documentation, the endpoint, not the links that I use to get some help online. You can do that on your own. I'll add all that to the description. And I hope this video was helpful to you guys. It's a pretty long video. It's nearly an hour or a little over an hour. So hopefully you were able to follow along and you found it helpful. If anything, I hope you have a fun time building. And I hope that our SDK will provide you guys a pleasant experience building in any auth provider of your choice that you know your users will love and are familiar with. And please reach out if you need any help and show us what you're building. We're very interested to know what you're building. We love all our customers' projects. And so thank you guys. Have a good day. Take care.